Hey, Manny Cia here with hopefully another informative and educational gun video that you can use to improve your firearm without having to wait 6 months to a year by bringing it over to a gunsmith. So this time I thought we'd play with the Marlin Stainless $9.95 or $10 I like to call it. You guys saw us shoot this baby in another video. Kind of went through pros and cons. It is really nice. It's a fine firearm, but not a lot of info about how to actually smooth up the internal, so I think we're going to go through and do that. So stick with me. It might be a little bit of a longer video, but we're going to go through and get this puppy cleaned and slicked up. Might even be a surprise or two for you guys in there who stick around. Well, since we're going to be slicking this one up, I thought we'd do a before and after comparison, just to make sure that what we're doing is actually working. So, got the Lyman gauge here. Let's try it out. 6.6. 5.8. 5.10. 6.4. Let's do one more. Just seems to be all over the place. I'm going to call it 5.5. 6.8. Let's do one more. 6.3. Well, we'll call it 6. Just because it's rough trigger. It's gritty. Yeah, 6.8. It's gritty. It's rough. It's in the 6. I'd give it 6. So, stick around. We'll see what we can do with it. First thing, always want to make sure that your firearm is unloaded when you're working on it. Our mag is out and empty. And we have nothing in the chamber. So, it's good to see, good to know, always do it. And try not to have any ammo in the area. I like to cycle the gun a few times back and forth just to make sure there's nothing there. And you guys are familiar with this. This is like the Model 60 line of Marlin. This is a semi-auto version with a mag fed. You've got the other versions that are tube fed, come out the bottom here. They're all about the same. The only difference is, of course, the tube fed, you're going to have a loading ramp, and on a lot of the older ones you're going to have problems with that they've always updated and fixed. So you can go online and order a new feed ramp if you need it to update your gun. And there's a couple tricks and stuff. If I get a hold of one with the one with the tube fed, we'll see if we could show you guys how to make those a little bit more reliable. But if anything, these updates, these are like the latest, well, not really latest guns from the 90s. We looked up the serial number, and they're as reliable as they're going to get. You guys can reference our video that we went into. Take a look, tell us what you think about the 1022 against this guy, the Marlin 60 series. Find firearms if you can find them. Let's get started. First thing you're going to do, flip the gun upside down, and we're going to remove these two screws right here. These screws hold everything together. And as always, keep your screws and all your pins together, just because you don't know how it feels. Well, some of you might, when you put something together and you cannot find the screws or anything. Or you thought you had a screw and you didn't. So, trigger guard comes out, and that's got the trigger control right there. Pretty basic, really simple. Man, this gun's dirty. Wow, look at that. You can just see how much dust and grit we got in there. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you use a gun. They tend to get dirty on you, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, the gun is a value price gun, but Marlin has done such a great job with this gun throughout the years. I've shot some of the older ones, and they can get a little finicky, but these new ones are, oh, when I say new, I say right from like the 80s up. They are really something to write home about. Look at that. They already come with the sling swivels installed. The sling studs ready to go. You can't beat that. Alright. Now we got the internals right here. I'll give this guy another little brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to remove everything here. Now, the best thing about this gun is some of the older models, they're going to have a screw right here on the back. You see that? But on the newer ones, you see, just pull that up. That'll slide out. Look at that. And it's plastic. I know it's plastic. And the whole group just lifts right out. You see that? So, really, really nice. Now with the bolt section, let's do the bolt first. It's kind of a little bit easier to do. You can see where, when we put this back together, where it hooks on to the receiver, the bottom lug down here. And it kind of keeps everything, look, just drops in, pull it out. Very nice. Now on the bolt, the way you remove the bolt is you're going to pull it back a little bit. Let me do it this way so it's easier for you guys to see. You're going to pull back, and then with this finger you're going to lift the bolt out, and you're going to pull out the charging handle. And then you want to go nice and easy when you remove this. It's under spring tension, and you do not want to kink your spring. And there you go. There's your spring. There's your bolt. There's the inside. Now, if I remember correctly, I think the receiver is an alloy receiver, or it might be zinc, but either way, they kind of wear. So you can look inside there and you can see what we're going to do is we'll do some cleaning up off camera, and we'll come back. That way we don't bore you guys, but you guys know our whole cleaning process. You go in there and just start, we're going to use Hoppy's number 9 because it's the great powder solvent, or you can use your Ed's Red if you've made, see our other video for our Ed's Red video. Just go through, kind of wipe everything down. You want to make sure you get everything spotless. See that? Pretty nasty, but that's the way it goes. We're real-time shooters here. This isn't any tactical shoot 5 rounds and then shut the camera off and go home and read about shooting on the internet. No, we're real shooters, and real shooters get things dirty. See a lot of the crud in there we're going to get rid of. And what we have is our handy-dandy copper scratcher. Look at that. All this is a piece of copper tubing that we smashed 2 ends and bent to the tip, cut them to our liking. See that? No scratching. You come in here and do some scraping. I'm going to scrape all the fouling out of here. Just get in there and start scraping. Now on the Marlin, on this series of semi-autos, you see how dirty this thing is, and we haven't cleaned it since last time we shot it. So we still got a high rate of excellent feeding with no problems, no jamming, no nothing. And this gun is pretty dirty, so kind of goes to show how well the design is. A gun like this, and most 22s are inherently dirty anyway, just because of their design, the powder fouling. Just get in there with the Hoppy's, which is just awesome for removing fouling. Powder residue, lead, stuff like, well, lead where you can reach it with your fingers to help coax it out. Use your punch, whatever you got that it won't scratch your gun up. We'll go through there and just kind of give it a good overall cleaning. And that way you can see exactly what's hitting where, and you know where to slick up with your stone. Now we got our receiver cleaned up. You see that? And you can kind of see now that everything's clean where we're getting a little bit of wear marks. but that's not a real big problem. I'm not worried about that on the receiver. What I am worried about that is on the bolt, and we'll take care of that right now. Let's focus on the bolt. Now, this thing was nasty, and I went through and I did a pre-cleaning just to make sure I wasn't spending tons of time, wasting time, trying to get this thing clean. So, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take out the firing pin and the extractors here. Okay? So, for this you're going to need a punch, and this is firing pin right there. And here, see that little ball? Well, this is the ball, that little roller. That's what goes on, and it works with the disconnect on here. And I'll show you how that happens, how we do that when we get to the trigger group. For now, we're going to concentrate on the bolt here. So, we're going to take that off, take that out. Let's get the right size. Now, I'll show you the pins and what they look like. Now the pins are staked at one side, on this side right over here, you can see that. And they do that, that way they don't come out. So they only come out from one way. This is going to come out, see, from, if you're looking at it this way, it's going to be coming out from right to left. So when we insert it, you're going to want to insert it from right to left, back this way. So we got the firing pin out. Clean that up, make sure the thing is spotless. I'm going to put all our parts in a cap here so we don't miss anything. Make sure your ball is clean, the roller. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take out the extractors right here. And there's two of them right and left, and they're accessed. Let me show you how we take them out. Right up here, you got two holes on top, that one and this one. Same thing, these things should just come out fairly easy. If you guys have trouble with these coming out, what I would do is spray them with some kind of penetrating oil like we created, the ATF. Do that, let them soak for a little bit, and then they should be fine. I like to use a piece of masking tape because it helps get everything out. Now remember, when you take these out, the extractors are going to be under a little bit of a tension. Okay? Here's one. And then be careful because you've got the spring, which is in there also. Yeah, it stuck to my finger there. And here's the pin for that one. And we'll take this other guy off over here. Again, extractor comes out for this side. Now, the way I like to take things apart, I take them apart and leave them the way they are with the part going in a certain orientation, so it's easy to reassemble. And again, the pins are staked, okay, and they go in from the bottom up. That way they don't work their way loose, but the way they sit in the receiver, they shouldn't come loose anyway. So here you can see the extractors, and you can see one of them, the one, if you're looking down on the bolt with the barrel out in front of you, is a negative. You see, has a negative tip to it, and that's referring to this right here. That's the negative tip, and all this does is kind of just hold the round in place. And this has got the positive tip right here, and this is the thing that actually does the ejecting. Time to time, you want to make sure that it's okay. It's not fair. It's not that sharp. The ejection system on this gun is really, really efficient, so you really don't have to worry about it. But if you have ejection problems, you might want to hit this with the stone, sharpen it up a little bit with a file. Take your file, come in over here, and just lightly go like this, and you're going to make the edge just a little bit sharper. That's only if you're having ejection problems. And now you've got a completely disassembled bolt. Okay? You can see up here where we got a little bit of wear right here from the top of the receiver. And you can see the corresponding ridges right in here where they wear. So that's about, and then toward the back a little bit, we've got a little bit of wear. But that's from, now remember the bolt, when it cycles, it's coming back like this, right? And what's happening is it's hitting the buffer. This is the buffer they put in there. It's hitting this buffer, okay? Most of the time, a lot of the problems you guys are having with these guns, of it having trouble cycling, is the buffer cracked. Take this, replace the buffer, and you can replace the spring that's in there. That's the hammer spring, and we'll show you, we're going to go into this a little bit later. We'll show you how to change these out. But the problems you're having with that, 99% of the problems of the cycle sometimes is because this buffer is old, messed up, and the spring just wears out. You can replace that. Those are $20 for both parts, and it'll turn your gun into a brand new machine. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through, I'm going to stone on this gun. I'm going to stone the bottom edge over here, because this is where it rides back and forth, you know, along, hits the bottom of the trigger group, and then we're going to stone right over here just a little bit, real lightly, okay? Just where you see a little bit of the marks. Remember, we're going to use a little bit of oil. Keep it flat on your stone, and we're not doing too much here. Just a little bit of stoning, just to make sure we can kind of slick that edge up. Of course, you got to make sure your stone is clean and flat. Want to make sure. Okay, so you'll see the high spots. Don't worry about the high spots. Don't worry about getting the low spots out. Actually, the low spots aren't going to do nothing. You can see because they're shinier. Look like the white stripes. Those are the high spots. Okay, and that's all we're going to do. Just a little bit. And this should make everything a little bit slicker, feel a little bit better when you guys are out there plinking. Add a little bit of brake free. That's our oil of choice. And we're going to do the bottom over here just a little bit. Everything's flat. Keep everything perpendicular to each other. Everything's nice and flat. You don't want to twist it. You don't want to sit here and do this with it. Just lay it flat and rub it back and forth. Minimal amount of pressure. You do it until it gets as slick as you want. Okay? And you can see again the high spots and the low spots. And all we're doing is just making it a little bit easier for that gun to work, for the gun to cycle. So, on the opposite side, see it sits in the bolt, sits in the receiver as such. This side right here doesn't really touch on that side. There's no wear marks. I wouldn't worry about it. Just where we have done over there. Just those two areas. The top, let me see. You can never have the top slick enough, because that's what's actually touching the top of the receiver. I'll go ahead and just do a little bit more. A lot of guys do it dry. I like a little bit of oil on it. I think it cuts a little bit better when there's a little bit of oil. Reduces the friction. Alright. That is about all that you can do for this. Make sure all your parts are cleaned up. And we're going to reassemble. Now when I reassemble, we're going to take the bolt here and we're going to use Ezox. So I think that's the best rimfire solvent lubricant out there, because it's actually almost like a dry graphite. And I'm going to put a little bit over here, just a little bit on the extractor. And we're going to start inserting these. Now, you may need to start this one out. Put your spring in using a pair of pliers or a pair of needle nose pliers here. And remember, we're going to put the part that's stay stippled on the bottom. I'm going to insert. Alright, let's get the other side. Same old thing. Take your spring right into the hole. This time this guy is going to go up from the bottom. Make sure the staked end is on the bottom. Yep. Slide in. And line up your hole. Make sure everything's flush, and there you go. Double check, take a spent round. There you go. Alright. Let's get our firing pin in. Now for this, I like to start. Now on this firing pin, the pin for that, you can see it's staked over here. Now remember, the stake is going to go on the right side. Alright. Now make sure everything is nice and clean. Oh, almost forgot. We'll wipe down our firing pin with a little bit of the Ezox, just to make it a little bit easier to clean next time we come around to take it apart, especially the parts that are apt to get dirty, like the face of the bolt, the inside rails, stuff like that. Because Ezox really is great. I think whoever had this before me, they had a real penchant for using WD-40 or something that got really gummy in this gun. But nothing a little bit of break free and elbow grease can't fix. See? I'm going to put that in there. Now we got to put our sleeve. And now putting the sleeve in just takes a little bit of finagling there. There we go. Use your pin to help line things up. Everything's lined up. Make sure that it's spinning freely. And take our anvil here, our mini anvil. Make sure it's flush. Make sure both sides are flush and get ready to go. Clean her up. And that's it. Got your bolt back to normal. Looks like new. And put a little bit of Ezox everywhere on here. We'll set this aside. Now we'll work on the trigger group. Alright. Here's the trigger group. Take a look. A little bit dirty, but we got a surprise for you guys who have stuck with us this far on doing working with your trigger group. Nothing I like better than a gun with a smooth trigger. And you can see on this thing, you've got 1, 2, 3 clips over here holding this guy together. See that? See if we get that in the light. You got 1, 2, 3 clips. First thing you want to do, we're going to have to make a makeshift prop using, let's see if I got something here. We can use this Allen wrench if it fits. And what we're going to do is we got to capture that spring. For you guys who have followed me doing the old single action army, you see that right there? We're going to capture the spring. And then we're going to let the hammer fall. And what you do is you take and you're going to press right here. There. Hammer fell. We captured the spring. What we're going to do now, remove the clips. And for that, Let's see if we can use a screwdriver without stabbing ourselves too greatly. These things always scare me because I think I'm going to lose them. But, nope. You just shot one across the bench. Spoke too soon. So here's our 3 clips. I'm not sure on the size, but we can look it up. Alright. We got those set. Now what'll happen is your whole plate will come up and be removed. See? Very nice. Here's that buffer when you got to change it out. If you got to change it out, very easy to do. Alright. Here's your mag well, which is very dirty. Very, very dirty. And your hammer and all your other parts. So, let's set this stuff aside. Make sure you get everything clean. Let's focus on this part right here with the hammer. There's the hammer. We got everything captured. We'll pull off. This one's got, oh look. Now all models are going to be different. This one has a little washer on top of here. It looks like a spacer. And what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to stone this, both sides of this washer, and we're going to take and we're going to stone. See right here, you got a little bit of metal on metal contact. But for that, we're going to clean it up. I'm going to clean it up. Well, let's take it apart first, show you guys. So we got the hammer with the captured spring right there. Here's the sear, and the sear should just slide right off. Now the disconnect on this model is staked in. See that? On other models they slide off, but we're going to have to keep that on there. I'm not going to mess with that. And the spring to the disconnect, see, has to do 2 things. It's got to move forward and it's got to go up and down. That's why you see that spring. Don't be scared of this, guys. This is not rocket science. Next thing we got to do is remove the tension from our sear right here. See that? And you take your punch, lift it up. There you go. See? Easy as cake. Sear lifts up along with your spring. Whoop, hold on here. And there we go. Sear will lift up. Slide your sear out. We'll show you guys how to deal with the sear. For now, we're going to go through, clean up your mess, clean everything up. What we're going to start doing now is just working on the individual parts. Here's the hammer and trying to smooth them out. And you can see right here we've got a little bit of scratches right there where it's rubbing up against the interior. And again, using your stone, this is a fine India stone, we're going to lightly fix that. See? Make it nice and smooth. That way it doesn't have any problems when the hammer falls. It'll be light. And again, all these little things, like you guys see in all my other videos, all these little things that you correct help in the end. And you can see right there the high spots and the low spots. Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Okay? Here's the hammer. We're not going to do anything here to the face of this. This is the, if you guys, let me show you what we're talking about here. Here's a hammer. here's the sear, okay? In the gun, it works as such. These two edges right here, let's see if I could get you guys to see how they work. See these two edges right here where they meet up right there? Well, this is what it's all about. When you pull the trigger, disconnect comes up, pushes this out of the way, hammer falls. Comes back, is reset. Now you see how there's wear on it looks like there's wear on this side more than there is here. There's uneven hammer wear, which means that the sear is not engaging all the way. You can see the marks on the sear. So what we're going to do, and this is where I was telling you guys about having a little Easter egg in here, we're going to lighten this, do a little trigger job on it, and what we're going to do by that is we're going to take this and right in here. And now you guys don't have to do this if you don't feel comfortable doing it. This is just an extra step, something that you guys who feel a little bit more brave can do. And like I say, buy extra parts. If you guys are going to do this and this is your first time, buy extra parts. The sear and the hammer, excuse me, they're very reasonably priced. You want to go along and play with it, go ahead, just buy extra parts. You ruin this, if it doesn't hold anymore, chuck it, okay? And you do not want to do this if you're not comfortable doing it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and we are going to take a little bit off of the top over here. But what we're going to do is we're going to take and just take at least 25 degrees off this way, just like that. And what that'll do is it limits the sear engagement and it improves our pull. So we're going to get our stone. I'm going to take our stone here and we're going to do a little bit of work. So we're going to take it, hold it at 25 degrees. Give it a little bit of a work. You want to make sure you're even. Alright, I think that will do it. We don't need that much. Just a little bit to remove that edge. See? So what we did is we took the edge and then we just went like this with it. Boop, we cut it. Just like that. Very, very slight. 25-degree edge. And again, take a look at it. Make sure it's what you want. And I think that is about all we're going to do on this one. And that's going to improve your trigger a lot. It'll give you a really, really nice trigger pull. Again, you do not want to remove anything from the hammer. Alright, you don't want to remove everything from the hammer. So, when you guys try this, you assemble the gun. If it doesn't work out, take this piece, throw it out, and order a new piece. So what we're going to do is, we're going to do our washer now. Do a little bit of a smoothing up on the washer. Hold it flat. Other side. Just to get it nice and smooth. That way, we get all that motion that we have. Oh, very good. And again, you can see a little bit high spots, low spots. That's just how it goes. Yeah, we could do a little bit more. And you can see we're removing just a little bit of material with the dark coming off on there. Remember, our rock is flat. All our equipment is flat. Alright. Alright, let's try this up. Now, that is about everything you can do to this gun to kind of make it as smooth as you want. Reassembly, I'll go through and show you. Now this is the, like we were talking about before, here's the disconnect, and if you need to replace that, that'll pop right out. If you look back here, it sits inside a little bevel slot right there. So this will pop out. I'm not going to do it, but you could pop it out. But you see how kind of it's a weird, odd spring size because it helps to help the disconnect come both forward, back and forth, and up and down like that. See that? Alright, let's get this hog put together. So, let's see if I can remember it doing it upside down. Because you guys got to remember, you see where I am, where the camera's at. This is the best way I could get you guys in on this without having to do anything else, any kind of weird hocus pocus. Alright, so now we're going to return, put everything back together again. First thing we're going to do is put our hammer. Hammer goes in like that. You see the hole right here? That hole is where we're going to put one of the, see that right there? It's the spring capture strut. It's going to come off right over under here. That's going to sit in there. See? And when you put the top on, just make sure you match that up. Alright? Next, we're going to put our sear and our sear spring. Sear spring will go in as such, just like this. See? The little bend over here is pushing against the back of the sear. So put the first leg on, put the spring on behind it. Make sure they sit flat. Let me show you guys right in there. See? You want to make sure it sits all the way on the bottom right there. Okay? And then this is what puts the pressure on there, on the sear. Okay? So, make sure everything, see? The disconnect's going to try to push the hammer up. So you got to make sure you put a little bit of pressure, on there. Now we're going to return the washer on top. The washer should lock on. Hold on, there we go. Sear dropped. Just a little bit. Now you can put the sear spring back over the knob here, right? Make sure that the sear spring is in the hole over here. The sear spring, or I'm sorry, the hammer spring is being captured in the hole. Our buffer will go back, and you can see the buffer, and the buffer mates. You can see right here where it's been hitting. See those two white lines? Every time it goes back. That'll come over there. And our magwell. And here's the ejector right there. See that? So when the bolt comes back, comes in like this, shell pops right out. So this you can take apart. You see there's a access point here to take it apart. I'm not going to do it because it looks like it's a pain to get it back on. But if something breaks, this is just aluminum, stamped piece of steel. You can get all this stuff, put it together yourself. Not too much of a hassle. Now these will line up. The corresponding body notches here, right in here. That guy and that guy. And since this is the bottom, it's going to go this way. Nope, this way. There we go. See? They only sit one way. So, kind of hard to not get it right. Alright. Everything is seated correctly, right? Let's put our top back on. Actually, let's hit it with a little bit of Ezox before we do anything. Just because this part seems to get a lot of powder and primer and a little bit of lead residue. So we'll wipe that down. Give a little bit on the face of the hammer because that's where it hits the firing pin. I'm going to make sure that that stays lubed up. Everything else, you really don't need anything. You can shoot a a little bit of this on here, on the plate, because the plate seems to get dirty a little bit. That way it's a little bit easier to clean next time around. And this gun, you probably want to clean it every couple thousand rounds. But like this, complete teardown, you may want to do it every 5,000-6,000 rounds. I know guys that do it every 10,000 rounds. Basically, you could shoot it until it starts giving you issues. Now you see this seat's right over. There should be no rocking, no big movements. If there is, something's not right. And just go back and look, and most of the time the culprit is going to be the sear not sitting here. Okay? We got our spring still captured, right? Don't have to worry about taking that out just yet. Now what we're going to do is replace our spring clamps, or spring, see, our little spring, our C-springs there. There we go. Nice and easy. Got that one on. There's 3 different models, are all over the place. Some are screwed on, others are staked on, like you saw on this one, and some have these C-clamps. But it's all basically the same design and function. Okay, everything's captured. Now we can release, pull the hammer back, or I'm sorry, yeah, the hammer back. We're going to release our capture. We don't need that anymore. And there it is. Now to test, we'll take, and here's our disconnect right there. We'll push our disconnect in, going this way. Keep your thumb over here on the hammer, just because I don't like it slamming. There we go. We'll reassemble the gun. We'll do some function tests to make sure everything is working. See, this is the, let me show you this part right here. Here's the disconnect. When the bolt comes back and hits that, that's what makes it not fire. Alright? And push that disconnect down, do a function test, push the disconnect down, and then try to release it like we did before. Remember? So you pull, let's see if we get this on camera. This is a safety function test you could do. Push disconnect down. The disconnect is going to do what? Disconnect the hammer from the trigger. See? We're not getting it. The hammer's not dropping. Let go of the disconnect. Hammer should drop. I'm going to capture it with my finger. See? So now we know our disconnect and everything we did in there is put together correctly. I'm going to show you how to assemble this guy. You take the spring, put it inside the back, and you see the little notch right there? That's going to sit inside here. You see that? So you're going to take this, seat it in there, and you want to ride the spring all the way back. Right? Grab it, this finger, grab the bolt. The bolt is going to go underneath. You'll feel the notch, and that's it. Make sure it sits in the notch. And there you go. We can put a little bit more of the Ezox on the inside here if you like. Keeps everything nice and shooting really smooth. There. And kind of work the bolt and lock your bolt back. You can lock the bolt back by pushing. You see there's an arrow right there? There we go. Right here there's an arrow pushing in. So to release the bolt, keep your finger on here because it's going to shoot out. Without the release the bolt, push out, and it comes down and closes. See? So lock the bolt. We'll rub a little Ezox on the inside on this side. We probably should have done it before we put the bolt in. Ah well, that's how it goes, right? Alright. Everything's got a whoop. Everything's got a nice coat of Ezox on now. So hopefully in the future It's not going to be so hard to take apart, or clean actually. Taking this gun apart's not so bad. They did a good job with the design over the years. I think so. Fun to shoot. Again, check out our video watching us shoot it. Now we're going to slip it underneath the guides right there. Put in your plug. Grab your stock. There's your trigger group. There we go. Long screw in the back, short screw in the front. What we're going to do now is we'll go through and do a function test real quick. The unique thing about the bolt on this, or the firing pin on the gun, in this model, is how it's on the bottom. You guys notice that. So let's do a function test, shall we? Trigger pulls. Ooh, let's take our safety off, right? Trigger pulls. Nice. Will the trigger pull with the bolt half open? Nope, disconnect's working. See that? Won't shoot. Our safety. Very nice. Let's grab our gauge here. Let's try it out, see what happened. I remember last time it was about 6-7 pounds, and we got it down to 5 pounds, it looks like. Let's try it again. 5.8. Definitely lightened it up. It was a 6.9. A little inconsistent. I don't know if it's the gauge, 6.5, or me. But it does feel a lot lighter. I'll give you that. That was 6. So if you want to make it a little lighter, you could go back and stone that area that we were showing you on the sear just a little bit more. The gun does feel smoother. We're doing 6, where before it was like, what, 6.5, 7, somewhere around there. So we lined it up a little bit. If you want to make it a little bit lighter, like we said, go back and stone that. But just be careful. You got to lighten it up, stone it, come back. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop me a line. Hope you guys found this video a little bit more informative, some of the other stuff on there regarding this particular model. Till next time.